My name is Beits. I am with Gallop Technology Group. I'm excited about today's topic because we are part of our monthly webinar series that we do. We always have questions that follow, and we always have some good amount of people that ask us what can we do if, and what happens if that didn't happen, etc. So I'm going to combine today's webinar with one of the most annoying things and probably most expensive issues that small businesses deal with, which is failing backup or failing to prepare for a recovery. Business continuity planning and having business continuity in general is so important. And most companies, unfortunately, rely on either the word of their IT person or a report that shows everything green. And they think, oh yeah, the company or the program that we use for backup shows that everything is backed up correctly. And when it's time then to recover, things are not working. I have a very unfortunate recent example from this weekend, actually. One of our clients have QuickBooks that we host for them on one of our cloud servers. And part of the process that we have is to back up the whole server. But one of the things that they're supposed to do is actually use QuickBooks' own backup solution that's built in the program itself. A lot of times when you do a backup for the whole server, it's taking a snapshot of everything that's on the server that's running on that moment. But when you back up databases like QuickBooks and many others, if you do a backup from within the program itself, it will know very well how to stop the database from running, take a backup of everything while it's quote unquote closed, and then it is much more reliable backup this way in order to recover, of course. Now, the story from this weekend is unfortunate because the company had their own procedures to internally check those QuickBooks backups. And this is another great example of something we're going to talk about. When their old CFO when she changed jobs and they got a new one, that was one of the tasks that the new CPA did not, unfortunately, get transferred to her. She did not know that this is something that was assigned to the CPA. Was internal CFO, actually. Long story short, they have some corruptions with QuickBooks, and they've been struggling almost this whole weekend to deal with the fact that the recovery did not work. Even though we were able to recover from our own backup, the data file itself is not usable because the file is corrupt, and the way it's fixed usually is by having the backup done from within QuickBooks. So we are experiencing that day in and day out with new customers or companies that we work with and do an audit for, which is one thing I want to offer to everybody today. Wait for the end over here. I'm going to show you what we offer here at no cost. But having a backup and simulating a recovery, having a disaster recovery or business continuity plan, but not having a management or business continuity management strategy behind it, not simulating a recovery at least every year, is a huge mistake. So let's go over a little bit what is on our agenda for today. We will be, of course, talking about why backups matter and what are the real risks for small businesses. This is mostly small businesses, but really true for any size business. Small businesses are unique because they sometimes think that it's very expensive to have good backup or good disaster recovery or good plan in place. But when you deal with a company that is aware of what's available out there as far as software and as far as procedures, company that have the experience to help you with that, it is a much simpler process than you think. So we have, first of all, the cost of data loss. And when you think about it, it is very costly. 94% of companies that suffer major data loss are never fully recovered. I'm not saying that they're going to necessarily be out of out of business 94%, but I can tell you that they're going to lose a lot of data. They're not going to be able to work the way that they were supposed to or the way that they did before because of that data loss. 43% of those companies never resume operation. 51 close within 2 years. And there's an example of SMMPP in Arizona. There's a breach that affected 67 and change thousand individuals, including sensitive health data. They had a pretty big data loss over there, and it's a business killer. This is something that we all need to worry about. We want to make sure that there's also understanding of what is it that you can lose. It's not just your customer records, but it's invoices and banking information, contracts that you need to keep for legal reasons. And think about also the fact that you lost it. Either you lost it and you don't have access to it, or you lost it because a hacker was able to steal it, upload it to their servers before they deleted it for you, and now they're asking for a ransom. So another point to think about. The common causes of data loss, there's a few of them. There's obviously the human error that we worry about. Many data loss incidents happen because human mistakes. We delete something by mistake. There is also the hardware failure that will happen eventually. All of those mechanical and physical pieces of equipment like hard drives will potentially fail one day, and that's a huge reason why companies lose data. Cyber attacks are another one of those reasons, obviously ransomware and hacking, etc. There are natural disasters that can happen, and flood, fires, etc. We had a client that had an amazing server rack in their office, in their building, and there was a fire warning. The sprinkler system actually went off, and they didn't have the right solution for the server room, which is supposed to be gas suppression, not water sprinkler system. They didn't want to spend the money on the gas solution, so they unfortunately just got the sprinkler system, and that is really bad planning on their end. There are simple accidental deletion that can be catastrophic, of course. You can think about the fact that it's really not just cyber attacks. It can also be an employee that deleted something on purpose or by mistake, right? We want to make sure that we're protected against those deletion. Having a business continuity plan and disaster recovery plan in place for your business can accommodate in it information that will help you prevent those kind of solutions or those kind of issues that will require solutions later. For example, will you keep the backups on the same environment that your employees have access to? Even your management. Do we want a business owner to be able to have access with their own username and password that they use on a daily basis? Do we want that username and password to have access to the network or the virtual network or the physical hardware that the backups are residing on? Yeah, we want to make sure the business owners or the GM of the company will have access to that, but not with the same login information for the user account they use on a daily basis. There's backup and syncing. There's a lot of people that don't, unfortunately, know the difference. Let's talk about those for a second. So synchronizing, is basically real-time updates. It's when we take information from one location and mirroring it to another location. And that's not really data protection when you think about it. It does not protect against data loss. For example, if you have a corrupt file, it will be replicated or copied over to the second device. Where it does help, though, is synchronizing, for example, mirroring of hard drives. There is what's called RAID 1, a redundant array of disks, where you have a server or an important workstation in your organization, you don't want to rely on one physical hard drive to hold all the live data. So you can set up what's called RAID 1, which is mirroring of two hard drives. When you buy that server or when you want to add it later, you put two drives and those drives mirror each other real time. That basically means that if one drive physically die, that syncing or that mirroring actually saved you because you will get an alert, you'll be able to swap that dead drive without even any downtime. So syncing is not bad. It is part of a disaster recovery plan, but it's not a backup. Then we are looking at the backup side of it. It is, the purpose of it is to back up, obviously. And backup means that it's going to create a separate copy of the data that's really independent of the live data. We want to make sure that it's what's called air-gapped. We want to make sure the backup is not in an environment where if the live data is attacked or deleted, it will be able to delete also the backup files. And business continuity is very important because backups are critical, obviously, for the business continuity and the minimizing of the data loss risk. Backup is basically your safety net, if you want to look at it this way. It doesn't override the live data. It doesn't get override by corrupt data. It preserves history. When we set up a backup or a disaster recovery plan, one of the things we always work with our clients is asking them, what is it that you are able to afford to lose in terms of time, in terms of data? If we back up once every hour, is that too much? If we back up once a day, is that too much? How long can you be without the data? Even if we back up every hour, but it takes 3 days to recover that data to a live server, is that too much? So having all that business continuity plan in place is what we need to worry about. So let's talk about the definition of BCP, Business Continuity Plan. It's basically a documented plan that you use to maintain your operations during a disaster, during a crisis. There are key components to that we're going to look at. One of them is we want to make sure that it includes a defined roles, communication protocol, and critical function identification to ensure smooth operations. What that means is that if you have a plan in place, part of the plan is to know who's supposed to do what, where, and when. If you just say, yeah, we have a backup, we have a disaster recovery software in place, we have our backups residing in 3 different locations, etc., but you don't know who you're supposed to reach out to and when you're supposed to start recovering, not every time there's some data loss or a problem or a scare of a virus or infection, you want to start right away to recover data. It might be that only 5 files were encrypted with a virus and you don't need to worry about the rest of them because your security software blocked that virus from spreading anymore. Would you really want to go and recover everything? And if you do, if that's the case, how do you communicate that to your employees, to your clients? What downtime is potentially included in it? How do we tell who to call, when to call? That all has to be part of your business continuity plan. And the purpose of it is basically to make sure that the business can continue operating. That's the name, business continuity. We want to make sure we continue operating effectively under those conditions if possible. You want to make sure that you look at the BCP as a way to ensure that your business doesn't just survive it, it can actually continue to operate under it. So having a disaster recovery plan, business continuity plan, means that you know where data is backed up, you know how it's backed up, you know how fast it will be to recover everything, but you also want to make sure that you do it in a way that you will disrupt the business the least amount possible. We're going to talk about the BCP versus disaster recovery next. So it basically, business continuity planning is the proactive way to make sure that your business continues operating in case of a crisis. And disaster recovery is the reactive side of it. In case there's already a disruption or a disaster that happened, we want to make sure that we are ready to recover from it. The integration of resilience strategy is what we are looking for when we work with companies, when we set up disaster recovery plan or business continuity plan for businesses. Combining both of those will create that resiliency that is supposed to be part of a business strategy. This is how we are prepared best, and this is how we execute in case something does happen, that plan best way. So BCP is kind of like the proactive side, and disaster recovery or DR is the reactive side of things. Backup best practices for small, mid-sized businesses, SMBs, the 3-2-1 rule for backup and disaster recovery. We have the 3 copies of data. We want to make sure we maintain 3 copies to avoid data loss from hardware and software failures. We want to make sure that those backups are located on 2 different media types. For example, a hard drive and a cloud storage, which is usually best because hard drives are very fast to recover from, but cloud is usually, if it's done correctly and set up with the right software, cloud solution will be where you're going to be able to recover if your physical hardware is dead or your office is caught on fire or whatever else might cause it. And we are very, very strict about the one side of it, one offsite copy. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. We have tons of clients that we started working with to find out that their backups are amazing and encrypted and all that fun stuff, but they're located physically on the same room, in the same room as the original backup. So if you have a physical fire, flood, whatever it is, your backups will go down with the original data. That's a problem. But at the same time, if somebody is breaking into your office and just stealing the equipment, if all you rely on is an external drive, for example, that might be stolen also. If you even have a second computer server for your backup destination in the same room, that is a problem as well, potentially. Offsite backup doesn't necessarily mean cloud, by the way. We have clients that have 2 locations. They keep an offsite backup on their second location that is not their headquarters. So that's another way to look at it. And by the way, 2 different media types, hard drives are great, but if you look at the 3 copies, 3 copy means that you're going to have a mirror drive on your server. So your data is residing on 2 physical hard drives in your server. Yeah, it's not a backup, but it is another location, another copy of your data. So a mirror drive plus a backup server in your office, or backup drive even, or NAS that used to be backed up, network attached storage, all those can be a secondary location in the office, but then we want to add the one offsite copy of the data over the backup as well. Encryption and automation is another important part. We have to worry about data encryption because if the backup is stolen, or if the backup destination where it's located is breached, if somebody is breaching your network and the data is accessible, a lot of hackers actually inject malware into the backup as well. And when you recover from everything and you work on it for a week and spend all this time and money to recover and deal with downtime, whatever, now you're infected again because the data that was backed up was injected with a virus, for example. So the data encryption is important, not just for the data loss, but also for the ability for the hackers to inject malware inside of it. The data backup automation has a lot of benefits. For example, eliminating the human error, or just like our client that just suffered through some stuff now with change of management, change of CFO, or CPA. They forgot to deal with training the new person in that role that they need to do that backup for them. Eliminating the human factor, the human error, will be amazing. And also usually backup automation systems will allow us to provide not just the reports that everything is working fine, but also our system that we use for Gallop. One of the crazy things that I love about it is that when we do a backup to the cloud, We have a full backup of our client servers and workstations, etc. We back them up to a local appliance in their office, but also send a copy of it every night of whatever changed since the last backup to our secured cloud environment. And there, what's amazing, and I think anybody should be signing up with a solution like that. There's many vendors that do that, by the way. What happens there is that our software, our cloud provider, allows us to turn on a virtual environment from the backed up server, and we can see a screenshot to show a proof that from the backup software, from the backup files that we have uploaded to the cloud, we can turn on that machine, that Windows or Linux operating system, to show us ourselves that it is getting to the point that it's turned on and the login screen shows up. That is a proof that the backup is working, but it's not enough for us. We're also going to obviously simulate some disaster recoveries down the road. We'll talk about that in a second. That's the next step, is to enhance the backup security. When we combine the encryption and automation, this is really the ideal way to have a good backup disaster recovery strategy for small businesses. What can we do today? Let's talk about some actionable steps that we can start implementing, or you can start implementing. You want to make sure that you assess your data. You want to identify the critical data. Not everything is critical. One of our newer customers right now had a backup system in place that backed up history and archive of files from 10, 15 years ago that hasn't been changed for 10, 15 years. Why would you overload your backup? And more importantly, why would you overload and slow down your recovery process to recover everything, including data from 15 years ago in case of a disaster? We want to make sure that we assess what's really critical to be backed up, and the rest of it can and should be backed up, but not under the same system or backup or disaster recovery jobs. So we need to determine which data is essential for the business, and that's the one we want to make sure is backed up effortlessly. We want to locate the data storage. We want to make sure we understand where all the data is. Sometimes some data is on the cloud and you're forgetting to back that up. A lot of our clients now use, a lot of businesses now use Google Drive or Microsoft OneDrive or SharePoint. That information is something that we need to back up as well. Microsoft write it on their own terms of service agreement and user license agreement. Microsoft and Google write on there that they recommend using a third-party solution provider to back up your cloud storage that you host with them. You cannot rely on their stuff. They save their backups for usually 90 days maximum, and that data will be overwritten by stuff that's older or newer. And we want to make sure that we know where the data is. So if you lose your servers, that's great. But what if you lose everything on your OneDrive or SharePoint or Google Drive, etc.? So understanding where the data is important, and mapping the data dependencies. If you have multiple files or folders that link to each other, or a server like a domain controller, you won't be able to recover your data without recovering the domain controller to be able to access that data later, for example. So understanding and having a chart of the connections between everything is what you want your IT company or your in-house CIO, CTO to do with you. That is important to know also what's essential before you start mapping things, of course. We are going to wrap up very soon, but other things you can do today is choose the right tools. There's a bunch of backup solution options out there, tools, cloud, local, hybrid environments, etc. You want to make sure you use trusted vendors. For example, if you back up to the cloud, can the cloud provider promise you that they keep your data secured and their own employees don't have access to it? You need to know that. Is your backup residing on different countries other than the US? And if so, those providers are not obligated to keep your data safe when their own government is asking for access to your data, potentially. There are limitations to free tools. There's a reason why free stuff is free. So remember, usually we get what we pay for. A lot of times we see backups that are free, but then recovery costs an arm and a leg. And people don't realize that until they rely on that backup for 3 years of recovery later. Now they're going to rip you off and you're going to realize that you didn't even work correctly. The reports are not correct, etc. So Don't rely on the free tools alone. I highly recommend to invest in either a managed service provider like Gallop Technology Group or any other managed service provider to provide those tools for you, because they know how to manage those. And if not, at least invest in something that you can manage yourself easily. You want to make sure you test your backups. One of the most important stuff to take out of today, one of the most important lessons will be to back up and test. Trust but verify. Make sure you have regular testing in place, and you want to make sure that you verify your restoration process. You want to conduct a restore test frequently as well. And backup utility, they're very valuable, but you want to make sure that you are recovering any lost or corrupt data. So make sure that you don't just recover one file. Make sure you can open that file. Make sure that you can turn on that machine, that virtual server or that server that you backed up. You can actually turn it on and log into it. This is that type of verification that we need to add. Backup is useless, remember, if you don't restore properly. You need to test it. And a couple other items you can do today: train your team, make sure that they understand where to save the data. We have a lot of clients that unfortunately save their data on their own desktops because it's easier for them not to save it on the shared drive or not to put it on the cloud or whatnot. That stuff is not backed up. You need to train your data. You need to assign the roles. Who is in charge of what in case of a disaster, in case of a business continuity plan execution. And you need to also make sure you have a culture of data protection. I talk about culture a lot, and data protection is something that is not any different. It protects your data. It will make sure that users understand the importance of it and the resilience that your business needs to have and cannot have without a good culture in place. Your team is the first line of defense, so keep that in mind as well. There's a couple of case studies that you can read about if you have a moment. Just pause this video and Google those if you want. But I want to make sure that you're aware of a special offer that we want to put out there for anybody that wants us to give them a complimentary incident response plan review. This is very, very important. This is the first time we're actually offering that, and we will continue offering that probably moving forward, because it is such an important thing to have for any business. So go to this website or scan this QR code, fill out that form, and we're going to reach out to you. I'm going to have either myself or IT director or one of our backup engineers will schedule time with you to chat about this and explain what the process is. Another thing that we offer is a complimentary domain and email security assessment. We have dozens of companies that took advantage of it and found really, really interesting findings about their own email security that they didn't even know about. And this is a very non-invasive. We don't even need any passwords from you. We basically run a bunch of scans that hackers can look at as well and help you figure out how vulnerable you are and how your email delivery is at jeopardy, how much likely it is for your emails to be marked as spam or for people to phish you or send fake emails, phishing emails on your behalf as if it's coming from you. Take advantage of that as well. galloptechgroup.com/free domain check with hyphens between those words. And this QR code will take you there as well. And we have a very nice checklist of everything we spoke about today. If you want to take advantage of that, go ahead and go to galloptechgroup.com/checklist. Scan this QR code instead if you prefer. And you can request that downloaded checklist. We'll send it to you pretty much right away. There are many other checklists that we created over there that you can benefit from as a CIO or CTO of a company, in-house IT of a company, or business owner or manager that want to learn more what you need to do to keep your data more secured and the business more efficient. The last thing that I want to share with you is a hacking demo that will show you how easy it is, unfortunately, for hackers through a Word document to hack into your computer and steal all your information and browse through your network, change your background, and copy all your data out of your computer. So If you have any questions, any issues, I am more than happy to be reached out and talk to you directly. galloptechgroup.com/Beits. Our social media links are there. We post a lot of good information on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. We're going to start soon, probably even some other social media like TikTok, etc. Lots of information. We are here to help. Join us at our monthly events like we do today. And all of that information is on our website. galloptechgroup.com/events is where you can find all of our future events and history of our webinars, etc. I hope everybody had fun. Thank you for participating, and looking forward to seeing you next month on our next webinar. Bye-bye, everyone.